And good morning. Welcome to another episode of Hard Foul Radio. This is the show that values time and puts God first. Appreciate y'all for joining in. So let's get started. We got a special 2 hour show for this Friday. Let's get to it. So we got to start last night's game. Something I've taken to heart and I've used repeatedly throughout the course of doing this is Chris Carter said 99% of guys are system players. And it's never been more true than if we look at this resurgence of NFL quarterbacks. The Geno Smiths, the Baker Mayfields, and last night, obviously, Sam Darnold. When Sam Darnold was drafted, yes, there was high expectations. He was a top 5 pick, and there's all these things he was supposed to do when you're that high of a draft pick. But the reality was he went to the New York Jets, not very well run, not very stable, whole lot of issues. What did you want Sam Darnold to do? If you're just being honest, what did you want Sam Darnold to do with that franchise, that team, that code? Like there was nothing in place to help him succeed. It was going to be a struggle from day one. He then bounces around the league. He goes to Carolina. Ends up and then obviously ends up with Minnesota last year. And in Minnesota, he has this breakout season, 14 wins, 4,000 passing yards. Did it end how they wanted to? No. But now he's in Seattle, and Seattle is now 3-1 through 4 games. And is anyone going to say Sam Darnold is elite? Is anyone going to say Sam Darnold's a top 5 quarterback? No. But does he work? 1,000%. And we sometimes get a little too caught up in the, well, he needs to be elite if he's a top 5 pick. No, not really. There's enough, and I've said this a bunch throughout the years, and I've said this a lot the last couple weeks. People got upset. There's enough bad quarterback play that all you really want is somebody to be consistent and or good. That will get you a lot farther than people realize. And really, the consistent is the biggest thing because Seattle at least looks like a competent offense the entirety of the time that Sam Darnold is out there. When it comes to, you look at the other side of the field, Kyler Murray and the Cardinals, for the first 2.5, 3 quarters, it was like, what's going on? We got drops, you got inconsistencies, you got it was 8 drives. The first 8 drives, they only had a little over 100 yards, and they got the majority of the yards the last couple of drives. And situationally, again, not just not just situationally, but the situation that Sam Darnold was in New York, the reality is it was never going to work. That's just the reality of the New York Jets version of Sam Darnold. It doesn't matter how high the draft pick was. It doesn't matter how much, you know, they wanted it to be a thing. It just was never going to work because the Jets were not good enough. The Jets were not competent enough. That was franchise failure from the top down. So even though he wasn't able to make it work in New York, even though then when he goes to Carolina, again, another franchise, not very well run, doesn't know what they're doing. You see it again right now with Bryce Young. There's a bunch of ups and downs, despite Bryce Young, who was the number one overall pick in his draft. Like a lot of these guys, to quote Chris Carter, 99% of them are system players. 1% of guys ever just work everywhere. The Mahomes, the Lamars, the Josh Allens, yeah, they'd probably work everywhere. The Joe Burrows. But even them, look at the situations they got in, and it's a reflection of their success. Mahomes inheriting Andy Reid, Chris Jones, Travis Kelsey, Tyreek Hill. That's why he has multiple rings. Not that he's not amazingly talented and one of the best, if not the best quarterback we've ever seen. But he inherited a lot. He had a good situation that he fell into. Josh Allen took a couple years because the Bills Josh Allen got when he first came to the league weren't that great. Joe Burrow, I've said then, and I will continue to say, and it looks like it's more and more true. Joe Burrow is Extremely impressive because he got the Cincinnati Bengals in his second year starting to a Super Bowl. That's incredibly impressive. You got the Bengals to a Super Bowl? Wow. And then Lamar Jackson, you get the Ravens, you get to sit behind Joe Flacco. The Ravens, historically a well run franchise, an organization that knows what they're doing. Obviously, more known for their defense than offense, but you inherit, like, you inherit the right organization, you inherit the right coach, the right players, and then you let special take over. Excuse me. Excuse me again. So Sam Darnold is just the average NFL player. He needs the right situation, the right coach, the right teammates, and that's fine. He's one of the 99% of the guys to play in the history of the National Football League. Let's go over to the other side. At some point, now we're going to talk about at some point what you have to start doing with guys when you get into this, excuse me, when you get into week 4, week 5, week 6, and it's like, okay, it's no longer, oh, it's just early in the season. It's no, this is who you are. Double down on that. It's not year 1, it's not year 2, it's not year 3. We know who Kyler Murray is. Kyler Murray is an extremely talented athlete. I think he was still the number one. I think he's still considered the greatest football player to ever come out of the state of Texas, which is an incredible accomplishment as a high schooler. The um, we know the talent is there. He was number one overall pick. You see him run around. You see some of the throws. Yes, he's short, but the reality is with Kyler Murray is he's the kind of guy who, yes, the Arizona Cardinals, they beat the Panthers, they beat the Saints, but then you lose your last 2 games and you start playing actual competition, and that's actual competition includes a 49ers team who we love Fred Warner. Nick Bosa gets hurt during the game. Mac Jones is in there instead of Brock Purdy. We love Kyle Shanahan, but like this isn't even a great 49ers team. And then you lose last night to the Seahawks. I think we just know what Kyler Murray is at this point. Kyler Murray is the kind of quarterback that if you're on a 3rd or 4th place schedule, which he's going to be on a lot, every couple of years you have a chance to be competitive or make the playoffs. If he is a 1st or 2nd place schedule, you're drawing dead. He's not going to beat the elite teams. He's not going to play well in the big time spots. We've had several years now of this with Kyler Murray, where yes, he's talented. No one can take that away from him. Yes, he is almost a better version of Russell Wilson. And to quote Richard Sherman, we've seen what Russell looked like once he got out of Seattle, once he no longer had an all-time great defense. Russell Wilson, who is by most accounts played himself out of the Hall of Fame. Russell got a lot of guys drafted, and Kyler's one of them. But there's limitations to a short quarterback. Not trying to be a sizist, not trying to be a heightist. There's just limitations. And Kyler is probably as talented as you can possibly be as a short quarterback. He's probably as talented as you get being a short quarterback. He's got an arm. He can run around. He's faster than Russ. He's probably faster than everybody in the league, maybe league history besides exactly Lamar Jackson and Michael Vick. But it's again, the Cardinals are going to be on a 3rd, 4th place schedule, around 500, a little under 500. They're going to be underwhelming when it comes to the other good teams in their division, Niners, Seahawks. Like we know what he is. So I just what are we doing? The reality is this is who Kyler Murray is. It's not going to get much better. And again, in a season, you have to start making that decision of, okay, are we still just early on and figuring it out? Or is this just who we are? Your first year or 2 in the league, it's still early. You're still figuring it out. Year 6 or 7, like Kyler Murray, we know what you are. Oh man, a lot to talk about today. This is a 2-hour show. We have both Tony and Will stopping by today. Really excited to talk to both of them. Obviously, talking about the Bears, talking about the Ravens. We're talking some baseball, MVP, Cal Raleigh. Is it just a numbers thing? So much more. This is Hard Foul Radio. Appreciate you guys so much. Don't forget, this is also one of our first episodes sponsored, or our very first episode sponsored by W. If you just need that energy boost, if you need that thing to get your pep in your step and you don't want to be into coffee, you don't want to be drinking Monster or these other energy drinks, try W. Get yourself a bucket. We got here, shout out to my A&M crowd. We got the solo leveling cup or the solo leveling bucket. Um, Appreciate it. There is also cups there. You can use Hard Foul 10 on the website for 10% off. It supports the channel, it supports the podcast. Appreciate it so much. This is Hard Foul Radio. We'll be back momentarily. And we are back. This is Hard File Radio. Will is going to be joining us here momentarily. So let's talk a little bit of Bears really quick because the Bears are obviously they're going to be polarizing. Ben Johnson, new head coach. Caleb, year two, the most expectations of any year two quarterback. This is one of those times where something I generally hate is an early bye week for a team. I think it sucks. If you have a week 5, week 6 bye, that is generally a really bad situation for on honestly any team, in my opinion. I do think the Bears might be an exception. To be able to have a team who, again, week 1, we all know what happened. They blew that game against the Vikings. And it might look worse depending on how JJ ages throughout the season. Then week 2, you get your doors blown off against the Lions, but Detroit is really, really good. And so I'm not terribly upset with that. Last week, you did what you're supposed to do, which is beat the Cowboys, who do not have a good defense. Just objectively, do not have a good defense. We're not sure if they're even a good team. You now have the Raiders, who I also believe don't have a good defense. And if you get to 2-2, and I'm not predicting this yet, we'll see. Picks just in. We're doing our pick segment later in the show. We'll see if this works, right? But if it is, what a perfect spot for an early bye. You get to 2-2 if you beat the Raiders. You get some confidence back for Caleb. You get the offense flowing if it goes back to back weeks against not again the Raiders don't have a great defense. I don't know if it's not as bad as the Dallas defense, but it's not a great defense. You get that confidence going with Caleb Williams, uh, and then you get a week 5 bye to continue learning, building on it. You come out the bye, your schedule starts lighting up a little bit. Again, I normally hate an early bye. I think it's bad in 99% of situations. This might be the 1% where it's okay. This might be the 1% where it's okay. If you get Caleb, because again, this season, although I predicted the Bears make the playoffs, I thought they were going to be the second best team. That was pre a Micah Parsons trade to Green Bay. I said once the Micah Parsons trade happened, that they were no longer better than Green Bay, and the way Green Bay has played these first couple weeks of the season, I still think obviously that to be true. But Jordan Love is streaky, and we're going to talk about that when we get to picks just in as a little sneak preview. I don't trust Jordan Love the same way so many other people have just unequivocally started to trust Jordan Love. So, as I believe there's a chance the Packers could still quote unquote mess this up. Jordan Love could get on a bad streak. You could gain momentum. Yeah, Jordan Love had the really bad pick last game against Cleveland, who does have a great defense. But if Jordan Love and the Packers continue that trend, you get this win against the Raiders, you get to 2-2, you get your bye week. And if Ben Johnson is the offensive genius or the coach, and I'm talking about coach being able to teach, being able to impress upon his players that the Bears think they got when they hired him, then yeah, this is a great situation for an early buy. And that's not going to happen very often. It was like some crazy like bonds and you recorded it. And you would have like zombies with the force something. Like it was I believe it was like something stupid. Like it was just it was crazy. And we are back. This is Hard for Radio. Appreciate everybody for tuning in this morning. So, look, man, I don't normally there's an stats are valid. And there's a real conversation to be had with stats in sports. They mean something. You can look at the numbers and because some people do get jaded or biased. Obviously, we're all biased towards our own teams. I'm no different. We always want to say our guy is the best guy. So sometimes using numbers as a reference point is really good. And it helps, it works, all that stuff, right? And then sometimes we get a little too far. We swing the pendulum too far. Like there's Colin Coward always says there's analytics and there's analytics. And kind of corny, but I agree with him. And it's never probably been more true than in the AL MVP race this year. Look, Aaron Judge, I am not a Yankee fan. I am a Yankee hater by most accounts. Aaron Judge is one of the 2, 3 greatest baseball players on the planet right now. What he's doing is incredible. Another 50 home run season. You cannot take away from him. He's going to win a batting title. Like, you can't take that away from the guy. The problem is, we've always in sports, there's been this level of cool. Sports are athletes, and athletes, with all due respect, are just cooler than the numbers guys. And Aaron Judge, to his credit, is a cool player. He's actually probably just objectively cooler than the guy that he's competing with for MVP. But it's not a cooler story because the whole defense of Aaron Judge and his entire case for why he should be MVP is, well, look at his numbers. He's going to win the batting title. He's got 50 home runs. He's OPS plus. This ain't it, man. Look, Cal Raleigh is doing something that we've never seen before. And whether you want to say, well, that shouldn't be the only reason you vote for him, take your glasses, take your stats, and trust me, I'm a self-proclaimed nerd. But if the only argument for Aaron Judge is exactly the numbers, write it down on a stat sheet, why do we have anyone vote? Why? I don't care that his batting average is 80 points higher than Cal Raleigh. I don't. Cal Raleigh is a switch hitting catcher who, the only number I do care about, switch hitting catcher hits 60 home runs. Do you understand how hard that is? I understand baseball is the technicality parts of baseball not everybody is into, and that's fine. This is going to sound it's going to be weird because I'm going to sound a little nerdy to defend not being nerdy. But Ben Verlander made a great point. He said yesterday, if you're looking at just the stat sheets and the side by side of Judge and Cal Raleigh, and it's like, well, Judge's numbers all across the board are better because his OPS is this and because his batting average is this, you're missing the point. You're just missing the point. I don't know how to help you. You're just missing the point, man. Cal is doing something really cool. As a catcher, something that we never thought we would see. And yes, we do like big round numbers. So I do think there is a difference. I think him hitting 60 home runs, I think that has to secure it. Is it a dumb metric? Yes. But we like round numbers. We like, 60 is cooler than 59, objectively. It just is. And you could say, well, it's only one home run off and he should win it anyway. Fine. 60 is cooler than 59. And Aaron Judge might have 2 or 3 more seasons. Again, he's a great player. 2 or 3 more seasons where he does something similar to this. And Cal Raleigh might not even ever get to 75% of this season. But that's why we have to acknowledge it. This is a cool feat. This is something that you're not probably going to ever see again. A switch hitting catcher, 60 home runs. The Mariners haven't won their division since 2001. Ichiro Suzuki's rookie season was the last time they won their division. Are you kidding me? And the Yankees, who have been in the playoffs now, what's it? It's the stat. They've been over 500 for like 40 straight years, and they've been in the playoffs for like 20 straight years. Like, it's all these crazy numbers. So, like, there's going to be other versions of this Yankees team. This is not a special Yankees team. Cal Raleigh, what he's doing, it's cool. It is special. He's your AL MVP. Sorry, stat people. Another one to stay here with baseball is, and I beat this to death during the beginning of the season, and I just kind of had to let go because I understand he's young, and I understand that We don't want to do this to major league teams. But can we get Paul Skeens out of Pittsburgh? I am going to read off some numbers here. And you could just watch Paul Skeens, by the way, and just know, oh, he's better than everybody else. He's not going to statistically finish one in every single category, but he's just better than everybody else. He's the best starting pitcher in the world. Paul Skeens just went 10-10 with a sub-2 ERA. The Pittsburgh Pirates led Major League Baseball in shutouts. Led Major League Baseball in shutouts, and they're not going to finish remotely close to 500. Do you realize how hard that is? Your pitching staff, and a lot of it is carried by this guy, to be this dominant, and you don't look like you have a chance. And it doesn't, I would be more encouraged, or I would give more benefit of the doubt if I had, not seen them mess up other guys before. Like they had some success with McCutchen, cool. But like we don't have this consistency with the Pirates. Or I'm sorry, yes, we do have consistency with the Pirates. They're consistently bad. To go 500, for Paul Skeens to go 500 with a sub-2 ERA, the best pitcher on the planet. The Pittsburgh Pirates to lead Major League Baseball in shutouts. And to still feel this far away. I have never been the guy who's like, take the star player away from the broke franchise for less than for lack of better terms. Baseball doesn't have a salary cap, and so it is tough. It can be really tough for teams that do not have the payroll of historically the Red Sox, the Yankees, currently the Dodgers, the Mets. Like it's tough for them, and I get that, and I feel for him. But you can't let this guy go 3, 4, 5, 6. They're beginning on year 3 of being dominant, them being nowhere close. You can't have them do year 4, 5, 6, and just going nowhere. Like, can we save Paul Skeens, please? The best starting pitcher. He's young. He is everything perfect for baseball. He's young. There's the relationship. He is dominant. Like, put him on a better team. And if you're the Pirates, you're not close. And the reality is, you're probably not going to be close in these next handful of years. Shoot him off somewhere else. Let him go have a chance to compete. And once he gets to compete, you're going to get you're going to get an all-time draft haul for him, or an all-time. I'm sorry, not draft haul, an all-time trade haul for him. Like, let him go, please. Let him go. 10-10, sub-2 ERA, best pitcher on the planet. What are we doing? What are we doing? So again, I'm not here for the stat guys. I'm not here for the people going, oh my gosh, Aaron Judge, his numbers. Cal Raleigh is the cooler story. It's the better story. He's your L MVP. Let's get Paul Skeens out of Pittsburgh. Please. Don't forget, if you need any help with your energy, do not use regular energy drinks. And if you're not a if you're not a coffee person, best way to get your energy, get you W. Excuse me. We got the solo leveling bucket. Oh, I just lost my bucket out somewhere out there. Get your W cup, get your solo leveling. Use Hard Foul 10 at checkout for 10% off. Appreciate W for sponsoring the episode. This is Hard Foul Radio. We'll be back momentarily. And we are back for hour two. This is Hard Foul Radio. Appreciate everybody for tuning in today. Appreciate y'all if you're watching live. You go back and watch the YouTube. You go back and listen to the audio. Appreciate you, appreciate you, appreciate you. So, the default biggest game of this weekend is going to be Chiefs Ravens, right? It's two 1-2 teams, and somebody's going to be 1-3. And it's going to turn into this conversation of, well, who, we're going to see, both sides. We're going to see the 2-2 team. Did they fix themselves? And then we're going to see the 1-3 team. And is it's too late? So let's address both angles for both of them, right? Let's use both the Chiefs hypothetical win and the Ravens hypothetical win, and then also a hypothetical loss for both teams. If the Ravens win, do they fix themselves? I'm not sure. This Ravens defense, now last year they started off not great, and it was talked to Tony a lot. It was because of Zach Orr. It was a new defense. They had obviously just come from Mike McDonald, and there was a little bit of regression, but they figured it out by the end of the year. And with some of their players, it's fully believable they could do that again. You still have Roquan Smith. You still have Kyle Hamilton. Metabuke potentially out for the season, which is what it looks like. That's a really tough injury. But could this defense get itself back together? 1,000%. Are we going to know that after a game? No. And you're going to notice this throughout all these hypotheticals. The things these teams don't do well, the Chiefs offense and the Ravens defense, I don't know if the Ravens have a great defensive game. Do you feel good going forward, or do you just chalk it up to, well, it's the Chiefs? Chiefs just don't have a very good offense. And so when you're thinking about that, are they going to be able to provide a, what's the word I'm looking for here? Are going to be able to show you in one game that they have clearly fixed themselves, that they have clearly figured it out? I don't think so. I think it's going to be extremely tough to say, to look at this team and go, oh yeah, this defense, if it plays well against Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs and Travis Kelce, I'm going to walk away from this game as a Ravens fan and go, oh yeah, we got this. Now, if you lose, and you allow the Chiefs to have their first big offensive game in what feels like years, you're walking away from this really, really disgruntled, really frustrated. It's going to be tough. Because the other problem then becomes, yes, the Ravens should still win their division because Joe Burrow's out for the season. Nobody really believes in Cleveland, and I definitely don't believe in Pittsburgh. And that's probably their saving grace. But you still don't want to be 1-3, and you do have to get this defense start to get back to respectability. Let's go to the Chiefs. The hypothetical win, if you win the way you've been winning, well, no one's really credited that anyway. No one's been like, oh my gosh, look at the Chiefs as they've won with this more defensive style, just making a handful of plays. I understand some Chiefs fans' frustration that we want style points in victories. I just want to see consistent offense. And if you just eye test the Chiefs, it looks hard. And it never looked hard for Mahomes his first handful of years. It looks hard right now. And that's with Andy Reid. That's with, even though he's declining still, Patrick Mahomes' favorite target ever in Travis Kelce. So if you win this game, but it's a 17-10 or a 22-17 and it's a weird play here or there, yeah, I think there's still going to be issues there. And if you're the Chiefs, if you lose, I think you're in a really tough spot. I think the Raiders lose this weekend. I think they'll also be 1-3. I think Denver has no reason to lose against Cincinnati with a backup quarterback on Monday night. And the Chargers, who I think can win, obviously, against the Giants, and they go to 4-0. And you've already lost the tiebreaker to them. The division is going to be damn near out of reach. And now you're looking at a wild card, and it's going to be a tough pull even to get the wild card. So I think the Chiefs, if they don't win this game, I think they're in far worse situation than the Ravens if they weren't to win. But again, this is gonna be the game of the weekend. A team that is a consensus title contender is going to be 1-3. It's going to be 1-3. We know what he is. So I just what are we doing? The reality is this is who Kyler Murray is. A five pick. No, not really. There's enough, and I've said this. I don't know if the Ravens have a great defensive game. Do you feel good going forward, or do you? catch y'all if y'all watch them live. You go back and watch the YouTube. You go back and listen to the audio. Appreciate you, appreciate you, appreciate you. So the default biggest game of this weekend is going to be Chiefs Ravens, right? It's two 1-2 teams, and somebody's going to be 1-3, and it's going to turn into this conversation of, well, who? We're going to see. We're going to see both sides. We're going to see the 2-2 team. Did they fix themselves? And then we're going to see the 1-3 team, and is it too late? So let's address both angles for both of them, right? Let's use both the Chiefs hypothetical win and the Ravens hypothetical win, and then also a hypothetical loss for both teams. If the Ravens win, do they fix themselves? I'm not sure. This Ravens defense, now last year they started off not great, and it was talked to Tony a lot. It was because of Zach Orr. It was a new defense. They had obviously just come from Mike McDonald, and there was a little bit of regression, but they figured it out by the end of the year. And with some of their players, it's fully believable they could do that again. You still have Roquan Smith. You still have Kyle Hamilton. Metabuke potentially out for the season, which is what it looks like. That's a really tough injury. But could this defense get itself back together? 1,000%. Are we going to know that after a game? No. And you're going to notice this throughout all these hypotheticals. The things these teams don't do well, the Chiefs offense and the Ravens defense, I don't know if the Ravens have a great defensive game. Do you feel good going forward, or do you just chalk it up to, well, it's the Chiefs. Chiefs just don't have a very good offense. And so when you're thinking about that, are they going to be able to provide a, what's the word I'm looking for here? Are going to be able to show you in one game that they have clearly fixed themselves, that they have clearly figured it out? I don't think so. I think it's going to be extremely tough to say, to look at this team and go, oh yeah, this defense, if it plays well against Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs and Travis Kelce, I'm going to walk away from this game as a Ravens fan and go, oh yeah, we got this. Now, if you lose and you allow the Chiefs to have their first big offensive game in what feels like years, you're walking away from this really, really disgruntled. Thank you. Because the other problem then becomes, yes, the Ravens should still win their division because Joe Burrow's out for the season. Nobody really believes in Cleveland, and I definitely don't believe in Pittsburgh. And that's probably their saving grace. But you still don't want to be 1-3, and you do have to get this defense start to get back to respectability. Let's go to the Chiefs. The hypothetical win, if you win the way you've been winning, well, no one's really credited that anyway. No one's been like, oh my gosh, look at the Chiefs as they've won with this more defensive style, just making a handful of plays. I understand some Chiefs fans' frustration that we want style points in victories. I just want to see consistent offense. And if you just eye test the Chiefs, it looks hard. And it never looked hard for Mahomes his first handful of years. It looks hard right now. I understand some Chiefs fans' frustration that we want. I just want to see. Jesus, why is it there's no blank in this? We are learning a lot today. Apologize about that. Let's learn. Some of the scenes were muted. We'll fix that in post. Um, Interesting. So, a lot more to learn, a lot more to know. Appreciate anybody who's been here though. So we're gonna get into this just in here in a second. I'm sorry, this just in after next break. We got to start with one of our favorite segments of the show and one of the ones YouTube's been enjoying the most. Why would he say that? And I hate to double down on this one, but like Tua should just stop talking during press conferences. And I know that sounds insane. It probably sounds insulting and mean and all these other things. But what are we doing? I thought it was insane a few weeks ago when we had the Jalen Hurts Cam Newton commentary. And I thought that was crazy. Of this idea that Cam, like we were downplaying who Cam Newton was at his prime to uplift Jalen Hurts. And I like Jalen Hurts, but that was nuts. This might be crazier. Tua hears criticism and then decides his response to criticism is to say, well, I'd like to see someone else come up here and play quarterback. It's pretty tough. If I were to criticize Tua or the media, like a non athlete, were to criticize Tua, fine. That's a valid statement. And sometimes you just got to tell people, hey, man, you know what? Get off me, blah, blah, blah. Like, I get the frustration. Did he just, did he just not know Cam Newton, NFL MVP Cam Newton, is the one criticizing him? I want to shoot him some bail. I really do. I want to shoot to a little bit of bail that just maybe he doesn't he just this looks bad, man. And no one wants to say it, and I understand. Unless someone misled him or maliciously just outright lied to him. This is a bad look when you're the guy who's been concussed several times. It is. When you are the guy who's been concussed several times, and we all have sympathy and empathy for Tua when we've seen him in those positions. No one wants to see Tua get his lights knocked out that badly that he can't move. His fingers are doing that position. I don't even want to try to recreate. And we all feel bad. We all have sympathy for that. But this can't be your take on Cam Newton. Cam, the guy who, again, this is NFL MVP. This isn't former quarterback. This isn't first round pick. This isn't journeyman QB. This is former NFL MVP, 15-1, took his team to a Super Bowl, Cam Newton. And that's who you're saying, I'd really like this guy to come up here and play quarterback. I feel bad at times because I do think guys, it's tough to go give answers day in, day out if you're struggling. I've watched the Bronco team struggle for 9 years, and I watched everybody go up there and give, from Joe Flacco to Case Keenum to Drew Lock, to all these different guys have to go up there and give these answers when you're 2-4, 2-5, 3-7, 5-10, season's over, and it looks like it sucks. It does. You're sitting there having to give all these answers. You're like, look, man, I'd come up here and just tell you guys we stink, we're no good, blah, blah, because that's the reality of it. But you can't say that. You got to go talk to 50 other grown men in the locker room after this, especially when you're the highest paid player on the team. Tua should just stop doing press con. Someone has to media train, and maybe just the wheels are so far gone in Miami. They're so far off the rails that no one's going to think anything of it. But this is a really, really bad look to I want to see him come play quarterback. We saw that. We saw what it looked like. And no disrespect to you, because I don't think this is a fair comparison, because you're not Cam, physically, mentally, the peak. Your peak is an isolated game being Tua. 70 points against my Broncos hurt my feelings, ruined my Sunday. Cam Newton's peak is the MVP of the National Football League. You two are not the same. So when you say, well, I'd like to see him come up here and play quarterback, he did it at the highest level, at a higher level than you did for a longer stretch than you did. And we don't view Cam as coach dependent the same way we view you, because we've seen you with and without Mike McDaniel. So is that a fair, is that fair to a, like, why? I just don't get why he said this. And it is so confusing to me. It is so otherworldly to me. Like, why are we, again, the disrespect towards Cam with Jalen Hurts, I thought was out of line, but at least Jalen has a Super Bowl ring. Jalen's great at the podium. Jalen does all these other things that we know, like, yeah, he's a legitimate franchise quarterback. He's one of the best QBs in the NFL. He's got these great. This is insane coming from Tua. And Jalen didn't just blatantly lie. I don't know, man. This was a tough look for Tua. This is just, without a doubt, this was a really tough look for Tua. Now we transition from that into picks just in. Now, let me also say this really quick to clarify. We had a 3-2 week last week. I didn't want to have a 3-2 week. We had a 3-2 week. Denver lost by 3. They were 3.5, so I technically got the win, but I felt sad because I still lost the game, which means we made some ground on Tony. Oh, you're going to get Tony's ticket on group chat on Sunday. We made some progress. We obviously had a 1-4 first. We didn't count week 1 because week 1 was just, no one really counts week 1. Who counts week 1? So 1-4, 3-2. We're 4-6. So what better time to go 5-0? So presenting picks just in. Let's start. Obviously, you see there at the top, Giants plus 6.5 versus the Chargers. Look, are the Giants as good as the Los Angeles Chargers right now? No, not a chance. But could they cover? 1,000%. Here's the thing. When you get a new quarterback or a new head coach, there's this little bit of a boost you get where it's like, okay, we got some new energy. Malik Neighbors is energized because these guys watched Russell Wilson go out there, and I understand the Cowboys game was 400 plus yards and everybody was smiling. Cowboys don't have a great defense. They watched them struggle mightily against Washington in week 1, watch them struggle mightily against the Chiefs week 3. And I said this last week, and I know I was technically right on the cover. The Chargers defense is good. Bo Nix missed, and everybody saw it. Bo Nix missed 3 throws that would all have been touchdowns. It's like, this defense can be had. Brian Daboll is a clever offensive coordinator. Again, he got Daniel Jones prior to this new Daniel Jones resurgence to the playoffs. Like, Brian Daboll can call an offense. Jackson Dart, I like what I saw in the preseason. I think you're going to get a little of a boost here. I don't think Chargers defense it's good. It's not best in the NFL, number 1 rated. It's not as good as its rating. And so I absolutely believe, and again, everyone's telling the Chargers how great they are. Justin Herbert's doing interviews. Jim Harbaugh is like getting called the greatest coach ever. All these different things. I think we need to slow down a little bit on the Chargers. So give me the Giants. I think the Chargers win, but give me the Giants to cover. I think this turns into a field goal game. Washington minus 1.5 against the Falcons. Look, here's the thing. I bet the other way when I first pulled this game up. I went Falcons plus 1.5. The Commanders probably not going to have Jane Daniels again, meaning it's another Marcus Mariota game. But then I thought to myself, I'm like, I think every time I bet on the Falcons, I'm wrong. So what if I just flipped it? Which means, of course, they're going to come out and look great this game. But the Commanders, who, again, Marcus Mariota, they scored 40 points with him in at quarterback. I think this offense just works. Obviously, is Mariota Jaden Daniels? No, not a chance. No one's saying that. But this offense just flat out works. Uh, and I just don't have faith in the Falcons. I like Michael Penix. I like Drake London. I like Bijan Robinson. I like everybody does. We all like the same things on the Falcons, and yet they're just disappointing every single time. Third game, Titans, Texans. I had the Titans in the playoffs. Could turn out to be a pretty wrong pick, understandably so. But the Texans right now, I just think this number is too high. The Texans, bad offensive line. I think Jeffrey Simmons is going to have a field day. CJ Stroud, this is we're getting into put up or shut up territory where it's like you've got to produce. You can't just keep being okay. Like you got to start putting up numbers. You got to start putting up points. I just don't think the Texans should be favored by 7.5 over anybody realistically at this point because they just haven't proven they're that good on offense. And so I would take the Titans, the points. Again, I think the Texans should win this game 0-4. I just can't really imagine that at the moment for the Texans, but I think they could win the game, but 7.5, way too many points. Ravens, Chiefs, this is not just haterade kicking in, maybe a little bit. I just think the Ravens are better. Look, I know the Ravens defense has not been good, but the Chiefs offense, again, statistically, the Ravens defense is worse than where the Chiefs offense is. But when I watch the Chiefs offense, it just looks hard against any defense. They don't have these games where it's like, oh, like they played the Saints last year. This is going back the last couple of years. The Saints didn't have a good defense last year, and the Saints picked off Patrick Mahomes, and the Saints made the Chiefs offense look like it was struggling. I just think they're past the point of it's a real struggle to get to 20 plus. I think the Ravens defense still has their players just objectively are better than what I think the Chiefs present on offense right now. And I think Lamar, I don't think the Chiefs defense is going to hold Lamar to an under 20-point game or right at 20-point game. I think Lamar's pissed. Again, they're coming off a loss. I would have felt worse about this game from the Ravens perspective had Lamar had one of his traditional Monday night games, which and boat race the Lions. Then I would have had more fear. Because then you could make the argument, okay, they're coming in, they're riding the high horse. This could be a letdown because it's the Chiefs are reeling, they're up high. But I think the fact both are 1-2, I think the Ravens get this. So give me -2.5. I don't think they got to win by much, but I think the Ravens get this. Don't hurt my heart. Don't hurt my heart. The Broncos are favored by 7.5 against the Bengals. It's Jake Browning against the best pass rush in the NFL. Nick Benito's on a tear. Jonathan Cooper. I don't care what Colts fans are trying to say. Surtain has been excellent. The second has been really good. I understand people are showing the Herbert throw. A, not only was it holding, B, Riley Moss was in great coverage. It was just a great play by Herbert. You don't lose. The same way Minnesota made Jake Browning look terrible, the Broncos defense should do that. I think Bo will be better. He's at home. They have a real weird schedule as far as how many road games they're playing this early part of the schedule. You should blast Cincinnati here. Should absolutely just blast them. This should be a 27-10, 27-7 type game. 31-10, 27-7 type game. Bo's got to be better. I believe he will be better. Give me the 7.5 points against the Bengals, who, again, the Bengals look terrible. The Bengals did not look good. Denver, you got to win this game. Do not break my heart. Please, please, please. This is your week 4 picks just in. I feel genuinely 5-0. I think the game I'm probably the least confident in all of these because it's just how my luck will go. Commanders, Falcons, obviously, is the one I'm like, but the others I feel really good about. I don't think you can have Houston favored by any super big margin right now. Their offense just is not good enough. The Chargers, I think that defense, again, they're not statistically where they're ranked, which statistically they're ranked a top 3 defense. I don't think they're that. So, and the Jackson Dart boost you get from starting a rookie quarterback. So, we'll see. We'll see. But I feel good about it. Feels like a 5-0 week. This is Hard Foul Radio. We will be back momentarily. Excuse me. Appreciate you guys for tuning in. I just got something in my eye. Isn't that wonderful? Whoops. And we are back. This is Hardfire Radio. Appreciate everybody for tuning in. Apologize for the technical issues that I caught too late. Um, I love 2 hour shows, man. I would do this if I could figure it out and my wife not hate me for waking up at 3:50 in the morning. I would do 2 hour shows every day. There's a lot of fun. There's a lot of stuff you can do. Right now, I don't want to guarantee that. So next week we're back to the 4:30 to 6 format. QB bar. Our first QB bar of the season will be here Monday, going through ranking all the quarterbacks, where they sit, all that good stuff. Um, yeah, it should be a great weekend, man. Again, last night, Cardinals, Seahawks. Let's look for the game this week. So obviously, we talked about the Ravens Chiefs. That's gonna be a big game. My Broncos play the Bengals on Monday Night Football. Seahawks just played the Cardinals last night. Packers Cowboys. That's Sunday Night Football. That's gonna be one. What's the game? We keep talking about like the game of the week, and that's the game that shows how big the NFL is, right? So, game of the week. It's got to be Jets Dolphins, right? It's got to be Jets Dolphins. We're going to check back into this. We're going to actually start checking in on this on Fridays. What game is so objectively bad to just look at when you just looking at the two teams, two quarterbacks? Now, these games might turn out to be good, but I think there's a reason why they're bearing this one on the it starts and you'll get to see the first quarter, which is usually competitive in bad games, and then it tunes out for the Bengals Broncos. Now, obviously, the Bengals Broncos game, Jake Browning is in that, and so it's obviously going to be less good than what was initially thought of when ESPN did this. But there's when they originally thought this was Joe Burrow, it's like this is going to be the primetime Monday night game. And we need to actually this. I'm going to pull up the numbers. We're going to do this every Monday. We're going to check. Well, I guess this one for Tuesday because Monday Night Football. We're going to check every week when we do game of the week and game of the WEAK. We're going to see if that game does bigger numbers than a playoff game from another sport. So are more people going to watch Jets Dolphins than people would have watched what's a good barometer? Just any playoff game. Let's do a non-NBA TV playoff game. How about that? Are more people going to watch Jets Dolphins than a non-NBA TV playoff game from last year? We'll see. With that being said, appreciate Tony and Will as always for joining me this week. They'll be back to their regularly scheduled times next week. Will on Wednesdays, Tony on Tuesdays, but it was dope to have them both in one show. Again, loved the 2 hour show. Appreciate you guys as always. And this is Hard for Radio. We'll see you next